Hello, welcome to the On the Break podcast, or just On the Break, whatever you want to call us. I'm John, alongside Joel. We've got a big news, especially for the NFL, but the NBA's got a lot going on too. Joel, how are you doing, my guy?
I am doing very well. There's a lot of news going on in football and the NBA, actually. The NBA season coming around the corner, but yeah, a few new signings just came.
Big signing. We got a big
huge
one.
signing.
We were actually thinking about not doing this week because there was nothing going on, but
Yeah,
we saw this news and we were just said we got.
we had to bring it up.
Had to bring it up because
Start of the podcast, we have to.
someone that we mentioned in the last episode got signed, and we were talking about people that should be signed. Okay.
Yes.
Cam Newton, the Auburn national champion, the MVP in 2015, the ex-Carolina Panther, is signed with Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots.
Oh my God.
I think I called. No, I didn't call. I said the Jacksonville Jaguars, but I said he should get signed. That was my.
You said he
my
should get
sleeper
signed.
bet. I said my guess.
Yep.
You know, we won't talk about your take on it, but
No.
Cam Newton
God.
signed. That's the big thing. That's the big news, and people are pretty excited about this. I was excited about it. I think he deserves the
I was
shot.
excited about it too. Yeah.
But now the big question is, what is the success that Cam Newton will have in New England? Will he be as successful as people are bringing him out to be? Will he have a similar record that Tom Brady had and prove that Tom Brady is indeed a system quarterback? But that's another topic. Okay. I think Cam Newton will do very well in New England. That system with Bill Belichick is one of the greatest, if not the greatest, quarterback systems of all time. Now, they only had Tom Brady. But if you remember, there was this guy named Matt Castle. He went 11-5 with the Patriots when Tom Brady went down with an injury. Matt Castle had an 11-5 record in his career.
The GOAT.
I think Cam Newton could do that. Okay. Now, granted, the weapons aren't there that they had. No Gronkowski, no Wes Welker. But they got Julian Edelman. Okay. And N'Keal Harry should be recovering from an injury. They have your boy Philip Dorsett, I believe. I think you mentioned him. Yeah. So
Actually, no. He ended up
did
signing with the Seahawks.
He's been all over the place. He's been like 4 teams.
He signed to the Seahawks. Yeah.
But Patriots receivers, not really their strong suit right now. Tight end, neither. But offensive line isn't too terrible. They have a decent offense. It's more about the system with quarterbacks in New England right now. So to say that a team that made the playoffs last season won't go 10-6 with Cam Newton if he's healthy, I think the Patriots can win the division, but I still see Buffalo overtaking that division and winning the division. I don't think the Patriots win the division with Cam Newton because I think the Bills will have a very good year this year. But don't be surprised to see 2 11-5 teams in that conference, right? That division right now.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think this signing is great for Cam and for Bill Belichick. Like you said before, Cam gets a second chance that he's wanted. My only question is why this took so long. I don't understand that. We don't have all the news behind that, but it doesn't really matter anymore. He signed a 1-year, $7.5 million up to $7.5 million. I think they're gonna work out some contract deals, but that's gonna come in later time. Yeah, all money.
Incentives.
But yeah, I mean, Bill Belichick has always wanted a mobile quarterback that he could work with, and the way I'm seeing it is that Bill said, well, you can't really improve the weapons you have on wide receivers all in one offseason. So why don't you just have a mobile quarterback where you could take some stress off the wide receivers that you have? And, if it comes to a time where he needs to throw, he has a guy like Julian Edelman there, who is a very reliable receiver. So, I mean, I like the signing. I thought it was really ironic how my whole Dak Prescott take is now down the drain.
Hey, we'll see what happens with Dak, though. It's not over.
Yeah, but obviously we didn't expect him to get signed, especially this late in the offseason.
Yeah, we expected a lot earlier.
I thought he would be one of the first quarterbacks gone. Like I thought he was signed way before Jameis Winston. But yeah, I mean, there's still some speculation as to whether Cam Newton will be starting, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. I think he will start. But I could see them wanting to give Jarrett Stidham a chance. Like they were originally saying, they said they love him. So, I mean, Who knows? I mean, Cam Newton's 30 right now, I believe. It's a 1-year contract. We'll just see how it goes. We're gonna see how healthy he is, where his if he's progressing, if he's regressing, he's getting worse or bad. Last year didn't really look too well with his injuries and everything, but yeah, like I said, he looks healthy now. We'll see where it goes.
Yeah, I do. I agree with a lot of what you're saying. Now, the speculation of Jarrett Stidham potentially starting, it makes sense, but I don't think it's going to be. I don't think Jarrett Stidham's going to be starting a week 8. I can see Jarrett Stidham starting a week 1, mostly because of how late this signing is. Cam Newton's going to need time to get used to his offense. He's been playing with Carolina for years and years now. Jarrett Stidham has been in that offense for 2 years, so they might give Cam a little time, not just to heal the shoulder, but to figure out this offense. But I think by week 4, week 3, Cam Newton will definitely be the starting quarterback of the Patriots for sure. But another note, Jarrett Stidham, Cam Newton, both Auburn quarterbacks. I really like Jarrett Stidham at Auburn. But
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, both Auburn guys.
I didn't realize that. That is pretty cool.
One won a national championship and one didn't even come close, but we won't talk about that part with Auburn. Yeah, but now this was a really interesting part for me, though. Now, there was speculation or people just thinking about this. The Patriots getting Trevor Lawrence, potentially the number 1 pick in the draft.
Oh, yeah, tanking for Lawrence, yeah.
It's not happening anymore, okay?
I doubt it.
We can celebrate. Trevor Lawrence will not be a New England Patriot. They will not have a 15-year starter.
Hopefully.
It's not happening. Please. I think they like Jarrett Stidham, though. Now, I'm not sure how long Cam Newton will be a Patriot because if you remember, they got their 3rd-round pick this year taken away, the Patriots. Now, if Cam Newton leaves, they get a compensatory, however you say that word I saw, back. They get a 3rd-round pick back the next year. So they could sign Cam Newton, potentially make the playoffs, and get a 3rd-round pick for it and let Jarrett Stidham develop more. So this could be the greatest thing the Patriots have ever done besides win 6 Super Bowls. It could be a boss move right there. But Trevor Lawrence won't be a Patriot. Cam Newton.
Hopefully.
It's guaranteed. Okay, unless they throw the entire kitchen sink and the house at whoever has the number 1 pick, it's not happening. But maybe I don't even know. That could be another topic. But Cam Newton's a Patriot. Jarrett Stidham is the backup quarterback now, from what we can see in the future. And the Patriots are looking like a team that can still contend. They will keep finding ways to get in there. The Patriots have some competition, though, in that AFC East. And one of those guys is named Josh Allen, the quarterback of the Buffalo Bills. Now, Josh Allen, he came into a draft with Josh Rosen, who has fallen off the face of the planet, but 2 other quarterbacks who have played fairly well at least in some points of their career so far. 3rd-year quarterbacks, Sam Darnold of the New York Jets, Baker Mayfield of the Cleveland Browns, and Josh Allen of the Buffalo Bills. The big question, right? These 3 guys, very similar in the sense that they showed promise, but there's a lot of inconsistencies. There's a lot of question marks around these 3 guys. And they all came in the same draft. So my question to you and myself, honestly, is which one of these 3 quarterbacks is going to have the best career going forward, is going to be put in the best situation to succeed, and who will have the best career at the end of the day?
Well, yeah, Darnold, Baker, and Allen, they were the first 3 quarterbacks taken in the draft. And, yeah, the quarterback who was picked last in the 1st round just won the MVP. So, yeah, everyone's basically wondering what's going on with these other quarterbacks who are taken ahead of him. See, when I look at Darnold, I think all of these quarterbacks are good. I think they're all good. Darnold is a good quarterback, but he has little to no help. Baker, I think he's also a good quarterback. He has a lot of help, but I don't think he knows how to use them all just quite yet. I think he'll get there, but I don't think he's there right now. Josh Allen, on the other hand, people were ranking this guy in the AFC last year. They were ranking him as a top 5 quarterback because of just the talent. It's controversial, I know.
I was trying to think of the other quarterbacks, really. I mean,
in the
AFC,
primarily. Yeah. He was good consistently with the help he had. last year, in his rookie year, he had 10 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. And this past year, he doubled his touchdowns. He had 20 touchdowns and actually had less interceptions. He had 9. And people want to point out, well, was he rushing the ball a lot? No, he had guys like Devin Singletary and the legend himself, Frank Gore, who
Workhorse.
is still working. Man is still working.
He will never retire.
Never retire. He's with the Jets right now, right?
I think so. I don't even know. I never know where he is anymore. I just kind of
God.
watch a game. I'm like, oh, Frank Gore's on that team now.
He's hopping all over the place.
Yeah.
But yeah, and whenever they couldn't get the job done running the ball, Josh Allen ran it himself. Had 109 attempts for 510 yards and like 9 touchdowns. Yeah, it was 9. And people want to say, well, was he passing to the same guy all the damn time? No, he wasn't. He had John Brown and Cole Beasley, who are both at ages where they should be regressing, and they probably had both like their best years of their career. Like, it was insane. Like, John Brown, he had 72 catches. Cole Beasley had 67 catches. And, yeah, he just did – I thought Josh Allen did a great job spreading the ball around. I think he had a pretty good O-line. And he's just going to get better when you add Stephon Diggs to this lineup. I just think he's going to be really good.
Yeah.
And, yeah, guys like Baker, Darnold, like I said, I think they're good, but Josh Allen, as of right now, I think he has the right audience around him when it comes to a success. And when it comes to the head coaches, you ask which coach do I trust the most? I trust the guy who made the playoffs. And McDermott.
Yeah, that's fair. So
yeah, that's my take. But yeah, I'm picking Josh Allen here.
All right. I like a lot of your take. I like a lot of it. Now, I'm going to preface something. Okay. Warning. I'm an Oklahoma fan. I like Baker Mayfield. Okay. Good. Baker Mayfield. Okay. This is going to be an inch of bias, but I went into this as unbiased as I possibly could. Now,
okay,
for argument's sake, I will pick Baker Mayfield out of this 3. And Baker Mayfield, right, had the second worst coach in football last year next to Adam Gase. Freddie Kitchens could not build an offense around this guy for the life of him. Okay. He's also had Hugh Jackson in his career. He's had 2 of the worst coaches I have ever seen in NFL history. Not just my life, the history of the NFL as it is. Freddie Kitchens and Hugh Jackson. Okay. Now, you have Kevin Stefanski now. His 3rd head coach of his career. Actually, maybe 4th. I don't know. I believe it's the 3rd one I can think of off the top of my head. And he was the offensive coordinator for the Minnesota Vikings last year with Kirk Cousins. Okay. They were a playoff team. They won a playoff game. They beat the New Orleans Saints. That offense was successful with Kirk Cousins. Criticisms about Kirk Cousins, I know a lot of people might have. But you got to admit, especially with Dalvin Cook, Stefanski knew how to build an offense around a player. Okay. So I have faith in Kevin Stefanski. Now, Josh Allen, as of now, is in the best situation. But you mentioned Josh Allen's receivers. Well, Baker Mayfield has Odell Beckham Jr. He has Jarvis Landry. He has now Austin Hooper at tight end, along with David Njoku. And they got 2 spanking brand new offensive linemen.
Not to mention the running backs.
Not to mention the top 5 running back in football to a lot of people, Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. You know, I believe they're bringing him back.
Yeah, they are.
So that offense is absolutely loaded. Nobody will ever be able to deny that. And the defense has been building and building and building off youth with Denzel Ward and Myles Garrett, probably a top 3 edge rusher in all of football. So this team is built to win. They have plenty of talent in this team to be successful. And at the end of the day, it's going to come down to Baker Mayfield to get it done. Now, Baker Mayfield has been criticized throughout his career, especially in college, for being arrogant and all these other things that Johnny Manziel was called. Well, he's lasted longer than Johnny Manziel. We can end that now. You gotta remember, though, Baker Mayfield owns the rookie single-season touchdown passing record.
Yeah.
his rookie season was absolutely phenomenal. He looked like one of the most accurate quarterbacks in football at the time. And in college, he was probably one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the whole decade in college football. Last year his regression was there because the team did not support him as much as they could have. Right? The offensive line wasn't there. Now Nick Chubb was phenomenal. And people don't talk about Nick Chubb, and my favorite quote from him was, "Have you ever seen a Lamborghini commercial?" I haven't. Nick Chubb will do his thing, no matter what. Don't talk about Nick Chubb. He's still going to be a Lamborghini. Okay, but this team is built to put a team around Baker Mayfield. They're going to trust him this year. He's on a short leash from what I've heard. But I believe he'll get it done. And I believe the Browns will go at least 10-6 this year. Unbiased and everything. Okay, I believe they'll go 10-6 this year. Now you have the Ravens, you have the Steelers with Big Ben back, the Bengals with Joe Burrow, but that's a different team right there. Josh Allen, on the other hand, you mentioned his weapons, you mentioned his offense, you mentioned how phenomenal that coaching staff is, and I absolutely love what they're doing. Okay. The thing with Josh Allen, okay, he has probably top 5 arm strength in the entire NFL. He can sling the football like no other. Okay, he's up there with Mahomes and Rodgers. The accuracy, though, is not there right now. It can develop, but it's not there like we see with a Darnold or a Baker. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
He's overthrown a lot of passes last season. He overthrew a few in that playoff game. And that was a big thing, that playoff game with Josh Allen. He panicked the entire game. Could it have been first playoff game jitters? Yeah, that's probably what it was. But when they were down, he was running all over the place. He was throwing balls out of bounds. He was, I don't even know how to describe it. That's how scared he looked out there. He needed to calm down during that playoff game, and I'm sure the coaching staff will get him there. But Josh Allen likes to take a lot of risks running the football. They have a running game there in Buffalo. But I remember one play, and this one play will stick in my head for the rest of Josh Allen's career. September 29th, 2019 against the Patriots. I looked that up. Josh Allen is running up the gut, and he has a Patriot on him. He's bringing him down, and a Patriot corner comes in head first with his face and hits Josh Allen's face mask, and Josh Allen is out cold for about 15 seconds. Josh Allen is a reckless quarterback right now. Okay? Is that coachable? Yes. They can tell Josh Allen, please slide. But the thing, Baker doesn't take a lot of those risks. Neither does Darnold. Okay? If Josh Allen keeps getting hit in the head like that, he's not going to play that long. He's going to play for 8 years and pull an Andrew Luck and say, I'm done. I'm 29, but I'm done. Baker doesn't really have that issue there. He can play until he's 36 if they let him. Josh Allen has this recklessness about him. So I think the safe option is Baker Mayfield. I think Josh Allen is more talented physically as a quarterback. But I think Baker Mayfield is a bit more of an edge and is a bit more cerebral as a quarterback as well. Now, notice how we didn't mention Sam Darnold at all in this conversation. Because it's the Jets. They've put nothing around him. Okay, they're working on it. I know. They're beefing up the offensive line. They're doing their thing. I'm sorry, Jets fans. I'm sorry. But I like Darnold. He has a lot of talent. He's a great quarterback. USC legend in the Rose Bowl. But it's more the Jets, less Sam Darnold. That's my thing. The defense, they always put together an okay defense, but it's not that great. The receiving core, working on it, I guess. They lost Robbie Anderson, I believe. That was his number one receiver. It's the Jets. They haven't had a good quarterback since Joe Namath. Okay, Boomer Esiason was there for a few years, but Joe Namath was the last great quarterback. So I'm going to go Baker Mayfield because of the factors that I've mentioned. What do you think?
I like a lot of what you're saying, but I just want to get back to Sam Darnold real quick. I just want everyone to know, we're not saying Sam Darnold is not going to have a successful career.
Oh, no.
I think he will. The question is, will it be with the Jets? I don't think it will.
Maybe.
I don't think, unless you manage to change that coaching staff, perhaps it could happen.
Yeah.
And I could see why they part ways with Robbie Anderson, because literally if you watch some of his games from last year, he knew nothing except running a straight line.
Yeah.
That was it.
He was
That's
very
all he
consistent.
knew.
I had him on my fantasy team in one of them. He was very disappointing for me. Okay, he just you're right. He just ran. He was just like you had to
Straight
pray that
line.
he got a 60-yard touchdown every other week. You know, he's just a very consistent receiver. I do agree with that.
Yeah, but with the additions of Mekhi Becton, I do think that will help run the ball a lot more, help Le'Veon Bell. I do think adding a guy like Denzel Mims, I'm shocked the Jets got Denzel Mims. I thought he could have been a late first. But with the additions of him, they got Brashad Perriman. I think their receiving core, Jamison Crowder, he was always there. He did a lot better than he did in Washington. But
Surprising.
they do. Yeah, I know, right? Going to the Jets actually helps somebody. Wow.
Only the Redskins.
Only the Redskins.
Change the name, please.
That's another take.
We'll talk about that later. But yeah, I do agree with you. They have added weapons, but is it enough? He has the worst coach in football. I've said this so many times. Adam Gase is one of the worst coaches I've seen ever. They should have fired him last year. I don't get it. That's my thing with the Jets. They are an incompetent organization that doesn't care as much about winning as a lot of other organizations. You can say the same thing for the Browns, I'm sure, but the Browns have spent money, and the Browns have gotten players. The Browns could also sign Jadeveon Clowney, but I don't think they will. We've talked about that, though.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Now, it's a lot of what if, and that's why this is a good topic. It's just hard to think. You know, I think Sam Darnold is very, very talented. I think he's a great quarterback right now, right? Great young quarterback. Again, Jets, Jets, you know?
We hope the three guys that we talked about do have successful careers in the future.
For sure.
But let's get into this rookie class, specifically the wide receivers.
Yeah.
The wide receivers in this rookie class were stacked.
You mentioned one of them, Denzel Mims.
Yeah, like Denzel Mims.
That was a later draft pick.
And he's still like a lot of these guys. I could think of probably 10. I could probably name 10 guys. They could probably go onto a team and be a for sure wide receiver one. A lot of them can be. This wide receiver. Probably the Jets. Yeah. Out of all these receivers, who do you think will end up having the best career? Who do you think will have a breakout year this year? Who do you think will be the best out of the bunch?
Okay. We've mentioned this already with the last topic.
Okay.
I'm an Oklahoma fan.
Okay.
Now, but I don't even think that matters because CeeDee Lamb was the best wide receiver in college football last season. I don't care if I don't care that Jamar Chase ended up winning the Biletnikoff. CeeDee Lamb was the most talented football player on the field every single game that he played last season. Okay, maybe not the LSU game. I don't want to talk about the LSU game. But to mention the LSU game, he made a ridiculous catch that brought Oklahoma back into the game in the first quarter, and then Joe Burrow said, I'm going to throw 7 touchdowns. But other than that, CeeDee Lamb is a quarterback, the wide receiver, okay, that you give the ball to him and he's going to run 60 yards for a touchdown. There is a play against Texas. I don't know if you've ever seen this picture, but there's a play where CeeDee Lamb is tucking and running, and there's 4 guys surrounding him, and the caption says, CeeDee Lamb scored a touchdown on this play. He's getting tackled by 4 guys. He scored a touchdown on that play. He broke through 4 Texas defenders, and he scored a touchdown. And he did a lot of that all season against Kansas State. He had a ridiculous touchdown. He's had, there's a long run against Baylor. He gets the ball on a curl, and he turns around and burns the corner and the safety and ends up having to be brought down. He is the most talented receiver. Maybe you could say Jerry Jeudy is more talented, right? Jerry Jeudy is one of the best receiver prospects we've ever seen. And out of Alabama, he was phenomenal. I think it comes down to one of those two. But the factor of CeeDee Lamb being with Dallas, he is going to have plays at wide receiver 3. You have Amari Cooper, you have Michael Gallup, and you added CD Lamb to the mix. That receiver core is insane, and they have a fantastic running game. There's going to be a lot of play action that will open up CD Lamb to go and score long touchdowns. You know, he's in a great situation. He has all the talent in the world. And I think the only receiver he really has to beat out for that spot is Jerry Jeudy. So I'm going with CD Lamb. I think he's going to break out. He's going to have a lot of opportunities this season. And he's getting the ball thrown by a consistent quarterback in Dak Prescott, like we mentioned last episode. So going CD Lamb. Guy should have won the Biletnikoff last year. Boomer Sooner. What do you think?
I'm actually going. I feel like it's a crime that this guy, his name wasn't even mentioned in this conversation so far. I'm going with the first wide receiver that was taken in the draft, Henry Ruggs.
I knew you were going to say him.
The fastest wide receiver in this draft. He ran a 4.27 in the combine.
Well, John Ross ran faster, and we've seen what he did.
Well, he got injured.
Yeah. Well, so was Henry Ruggs. He had actually a very, I believe he was in the car accident, actually, or the accident. You know, he had a foot injury, I believe. Yeah. Hopefully he's doing better, but
I think he's doing all right. Right?
Yeah, he's doing okay.
Now.
But
you
mentioned injury.
Research.
It happened.
Yeah. So the reason why I say Henry Ruggs is, out of all the wide receivers in this draft, possibly you can make a case for Jerry Jeudy, but based on the team that he was drafted by, the Las Vegas Raiders, I almost gotta correct myself there.
I wouldn't have noticed if you said Oakland, honestly. It's like the San Diego thing, you know.
So he is the only wide receiver where I could actually see him as a wide receiver one going into the Las Vegas Raiders. I look at Henry Ruggs, I think of Tyreek Hill. I literally think of Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned CD Lamb. Yes, I do believe that CD Lamb, for me, he is the best wide receiver where it comes to run after catch. I think he's the best at that. But when it comes to going deep, when it comes to just straight speed, burning out your defender, I think Henry Ruggs is the best in this draft. And I think he is perfect for a guy like Derek Carr. Now, Derek Carr, 2 years ago, he was sacked 51 times. This past season, he was sacked 29 times. The O-line improved tremendously with the addition of Trent Brown. He had 4,000 yards, 21 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions. He had a 100 QBR rating. Statistically, this was probably the best year of Derek Carr's career. You look at Darren Waller, who led the team in catches and yards. He had 90 catches and like 1,145 yards, I believe I remember that correctly. And you had guys like Tyrell Williams and Hunter Renfrow, both in the somewhat region of like 40 catches, 500 yards, something like that. But there was no wide receiver one that I was looking at. Like, their best receiver was a tight end. I feel like had you give Derek Carr a wide receiver that could stay healthy for a season and have a guy that can go deep. Like, I know Derek Carr likes to go deep a lot. I honestly think Henry Ruggs with the Las Vegas Raiders, I keep saying it.
It's going to take a while.
I'm going to just say Raiders.
Good idea.
With the Raiders, I think it's a perfect fit for him. I think it's a perfect fit for him. I think it's a perfect fit for John Gruden. I know John Gruden loves guys that can go fast. I know he loves guys that fit the Raider mentality. And I think Henry Ruggs is perfect for that. So, no, I don't blame the Raiders for picking Henry Ruggs ahead of guys like Jerry Jeudy or CD Lamb, because I think Henry Ruggs fits the system more when it comes to how he plays the game. So, yeah, I'm going with the guy who I believe is overall in the best situation to be a breakout star.
I can get behind that, actually. You know, I did like the Henry Ruggs pick from the Raiders. A lot of people criticized it, saying, you had Jeudy on the board, you had Lamb on the board. And I even said you had Lamb on the board. But when you look back on it, yeah, he fits the system better. Henry Ruggs is a fast receiver. If you want to mention Tyreek Hill, you can mention Tyreek Hill, but it's fair comparison. Now, here's my thing about Henry Ruggs, Alabama receiver. Okay. Henry Ruggs played alongside a guy named Jalen Waddle last season with Alabama. I don't know how much Alabama you watched last season, but there's a guy, Jalen Waddle, on that team who is probably faster than Henry Ruggs. So Alabama was loaded last season, and they couldn't get it done because Tua was hurt. But, Henry Ruggs, we've seen a lot of receivers that play like Henry Ruggs. We've seen a lot of fast receivers, speedy guys. It comes down to staying healthy and being able to get the ball, right? Because Henry Ruggs, well, he can do this, right? When you compare him to CeeDee Lamb or Judy, he doesn't have the physicality to go up and get it. Henry Ruggs' game is burning somebody, winning with your speed. CeeDee Lamb and Jerry Judy, they're going to get those contested catches a lot more often.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that will lead to more touchdown opportunities, in my opinion. I do like Henry Ruggs. I think he'll have a very successful season and probably career. But that's my reasoning for CeeDee Lamb, that go up and get it factor versus Henry Ruggs. I almost called him Jalen Waddle. Of being more of a speed guy, because I like guys that can go up and get it, and over speed guys, especially to break out and put up big numbers. And if Henry Ruggs is your wide receiver one, and he is that fast, you might see him get double teamed. So if you're a guy that likes statistically, you might be able to compare statistically. CeeDee Lamb might end the year statistically better than Jalen Waddle. Henry Ruggs, okay? So, but I do think that's fair. I like him a lot. We will see. That's the big thing about this. There's no right or wrong answer. We will see what happens. But let's get into the next thing we want to talk about, okay? Another speculation thing, okay? The playoffs are never set in stone. There's always teams that will surprise you. You can make your predictions, but there's always that one team that finds a way to make a run and get in there. AKA the Tennessee Titans last season. We did not expect them to get into we thought they could get into the playoffs, but this man, King Henry, decided to be the best running back in football for 2 games. Yeah, more than that, actually. But this year, if we do get to the playoffs, who is your guy? We'll start with the AFC. Okay. What is your team in the AFC? And then I'll say mine, that you think will surprise people and potentially find themselves in a playoff spot this season?
I'm going to be honest with you. I think it's very obvious on who I believe is not getting enough praise. They have a lot of talent, and it all just comes down to 2 things for me. The Denver Broncos. I look at the Denver Broncos. I see Drew Lock, who showed a lot of promise last year. I understand he didn't play a lot of games. He was injured in the beginning of the season. But in the games that we did see him, I thought he played pretty well. You got a guy, Cortland Sutton, who had 72 catches, over 1,000 yards, and 6 touchdowns. You want to talk about fantasy? He was amazing for me at fantasy.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
they don't talk about him enough.
We talk about him enough for fantasy. But, yeah, he is a guy who I believe can be a wide receiver 1. He probably is to some people.
Yep.
You add Noah Fant, who is good. I didn't think he was great, but I think he can get to that great level that he was, like he was in Iowa. You have Phillip Lindsay, who was a great running back. Now you add Melvin Gordon, who I think they're going to be a great 1-2 combo in the offense, especially with that O-line, who I thought was a pretty good O-line last year, very underrated O-line. Oh, yeah, and with the additions of the rookies, Jerry Jeudy and KJ Hamler, the offense is loaded, what I'm trying to say. It all comes down to Drew Lock. If he is the guy that a lot of people are saying he is, he can prove it right now by clinching a wild card spot, maybe going 9-7, something like. And
yep.
with the new proposed playoffs positions, now there's going to be an extra seed in each conference. Who knows? They probably could end up making the playoffs.
Is that happening this year or next year?
I believe it is next year, isn't it?
I think so.
I think it's next year. But yeah, I'm just trying to make the point that like an extra team could possibly squeeze in there.
Yeah.
The only aspect that's like really frustrating me right now is the defense. I think losing Chris Harris was a major blow to this defense. Now, granted, Chubb was hurt last year. Bradley Chubb's coming back alongside Von Miller. AJ Boye, who I guess would be taking over Chris Harris' spot as the DB1. And you have a young safety in Kareem Jackson, who I thought played pretty well last year. And you have Jarrell Casey that you got from the Titans to replace Derek Wolfe. So I do think this team is a really good team. Obviously, you don't want to look at them as like a top team in the AFC, but I do believe in their division with the Raiders, the Chiefs, the Chargers. I do think they can manage to squeeze in a wild card spot. I think the Chiefs own that division. I think the Chiefs are going to win it.
Yeah.
But I do think a team like Denver Broncos could definitely make it into a wild card spot. They just have good chemistry. Drew Lock becomes the star that everyone's hoping he will, and the defense steps it up a bit with a loss of their top guy.
I agree, because you're not going to believe it. I also had the Denver Broncos
I knew
as
it.
my AFC pick. Okay.
I knew you did.
They stole a lot of my points that I was going to make.
I knew you did.
But I'll put my own spin on it, what I can after that, But that defense that you mentioned, I'll get into it. AJ Bouye replacing, Jarrell Casey replacing. They lost, but they did a very good job at replacing what they lost.
Mm-hmm.
And Von Miller being a leader on that defense is going to make that team absolutely hungry to potentially take that division. Although I don't think they will. They're going to make a pretty good push at it from what I can see if, they back up the way they're talking to him. The offense is going to be insane. This is the prove-it year for Drew Lock. Maybe earlier than fans would have liked to see it, but he has to prove it this year. Can you compare it to Baker Mayfield? Okay, we give you all these weapons. We give you a defense. Go make it happen, right? But I think Drew Lock is going to prove himself. I think he's going to do a very good job because you look at that division. Los Angeles, it's been a while. I still call it San Diego sometimes, but Los Angeles Chargers, they have a rookie quarterback in Justin Herbert that I do like, but he's also a rookie quarterback, right? Now, Drew Lock, only a second-year quarterback, but experience always ends up winning out somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Las Vegas, or just Vegas. I think that's what we're going with. There's still a lot of question marks surrounding them. So if you see the Broncos maybe beat the Chargers twice, split with Oakland and Kansas City, that's what? 4 wins right there in the division?
Mm-hmm.
That's good enough to, propel you forward to potentially take that second wild card spot. I think if they do get in the playoffs, it will be close because they're competing with a lot of great teams in that conference. Okay. You have the AFC East with Buffalo and New England trying to get in. You have the AFC North with the Ravens, Pittsburgh, and Cleveland trying to get in. The AFC South with the Texans and the Colts and the Titans all competing for that spot. And the AFC West is another animal of its own. But if the Broncos can go out there and prove themselves and play to their highest potential, and a lot of things need to go right, but I believe that they can. If all those things go right, they can get it done, especially with this offense. With Noah Fant, you mentioned him, the Iowa tight end. Iowa is tight end university every time. TJ Hawkinson, I believe George Kittle went there too. They are a tight end university right there. KJ Hamler, I liked him a lot. I liked that pick so much. You have no idea how much I liked them picking 2 receivers because they needed weapons for Drew Lock. The offensive line doing its thing. Okay, maybe needs some work, but they're still doing it, right?
Mm-hmm.
They picked up a corner, I believe, somewhere in the draft to kind of add some depth in there. You add one of the best college wide receivers that we've seen in a while in Jerry Jeudy, that they completely stole third. We've had the receiver discussion. They did.
That was a steal of a pick.
I mean, that was when Eagles fans just said, I give up. I'm done. They stole that guy.
They stole him.
And you could argue they stole KJ Hamler too. So a lot went right in the draft. Now a lot needs to go right on the football field. Can it? I think so. You think so?
I think so.
we'll have to wait and see what happens. We'll see what they do. Broncos, a lot of potential. We happen to agree on the same thing. Let's see if the same thing happens for the NFC. Who do you have potentially sneaking into the playoffs in the NFC?
This is another one. I don't think it's a question. Like, to the AFC, I tried really hard to find another team, but to me, the Broncos were just so obvious. In my eyes, this team is really obvious. They did a lot of moves this offseason. I wouldn't say a lot. They did big moves this offseason. I'm going to say the Arizona Cardinals. Don't tell me you
pick the same one again. We have the same team. All right, let's hear your take. Let's hear your take on this. We picked the same two teams. That's great.
We'll just try to chip in here and there. Knew it.
We'll figure it out.
Okay, so Kyler Murray had a great rookie year. People are comparing him to Lamar Jackson in the sense that he can go from a rookie to a potential MVP candidate. I think it's a little overhyping it, but I am saying he's a great quarterback. I think he's great.
Yeah.
They have Kenyon Drake, who all he needed was a change of scenery from Miami. He was terrible in Miami. Goes to Arizona, he kills it. He does absolutely amazing. People are considering him a top running back in the league right now because of how good he was in Arizona. You have Christian Kirk, Larry Legend at wide receiver.
Larry Legend.
And they traded for DeAndre Hopkins while at the same time getting rid of their David Johnson contract, who really did nothing for them last year.
Bill O'Brien, what is wrong with you?
What is wrong with you?
That's just – I wish we were doing this podcast when that trade went down.
Oh, my God. I would have went off.
That was terrible.
I would have tried really hard to find a Texans fan just to bring him on here and be like, how do you feel?
Do they exist? I don't know. I haven't seen one in a while.
Not anymore.
I mean, I don't live in Texas, but, yeah, I think a lot of people would have jumped ship after that trade. But, yeah, go on.
Switching over to the defense, you have Patrick Peterson. You have another young corner in Byron Murphy. You have a good young safety in Budda Baker. You have Chandler Jones, who put up 19 sacks last year. Jordan Hicks, who I think is an underrated linebacker. I thought he was really good.
Yep.
And they still had a first-round pick and got the best defensive player in the draft in Isaiah Simmons, who can really play any position on the defense.
All of them.
He could. You ask him.
Throw him in a tight end too. I mean,
you ask him what position. You ask Isaiah Simmons what position he plays. He says defense.
Yeah,
he plays everything. The only issue with the Arizona Cardinals would be their offensive line. They had 48 sacks last year, which was not really good. And Kyler Murray being a mobile quarterback, you have to protect this guy. You need open space for him. You need open space for Kenyon Drake. I think the addition of Josh Jones in the third round was an absolute steal. Some people had him going in the first round. I think, oh my God, the Arizona Cardinals, I think they're going to be a really scary team next year. I really believe that. I think they're going to be very good when it comes to offense. I think they're the only team in the NFL that runs an air raid offense.
Yeah, that Big 12 stuff. Cliff Kingsbury, Texas Tech.
But yeah, that's my take. I think Arizona Cardinals, they can make some moves in the NFC.
I do agree with you, obviously. The whole, Kyler Murray, I'm sure, me picking the Cardinals, I'm sure someone out there is saying this guy and his Oklahoma players. Okay.
And
but I
right.
think a lot of people, I'm right about him most of the time. Maybe not with Baker, but, that Big 12 offense, it works. Somehow, some way it does. That air raid, Mike Leach, Cliff Kingsbury doing it in Arizona and Texas Tech. Cliff Kingsbury did it with this guy named Patrick Mahomes. I think you've heard of him. Texas Tech. Yeah. He's okay.
Not familiar.
He's okay at football, I think.
Pretty good.
Now he's doing that with Kyler Murray in the NFL, and he's doing pretty good at it. They didn't make a lot of waves when it comes to winning last season, but that's what happens with a rookie quarterback when you're putting it together, Don't expect the Bengals to be 10-6 this year with Joe Burrow. In 3 years, different conversation, Kyler Murray is one one of the best young quarterbacks in the NFL. I was going to say the best, but then I remember that Lamar Jackson exists.
Oh, yeah. He
Yeah.
exists.
Yeah, he's the thing.
Patrick Mahomes exists.
Yeah, he's pretty young. You forget he's young sometimes because of just how great he is. But Kyler Murray, he's going to be in that conversation next year, I think. Potential MVP talks if that team starts winning. Now, I'm thinking of a team off the top of my head, but I'm going to argue against the Cardinals for the sake of it. That division is tough. You have a Rams team who's on the decline. That's obvious, but they're still a damn good football team.
Never doubt Sean McVay. Never doubt Sean McVay.
A top 5 coach in the NFL. That's for sure. It's a big general manager issue with him, with that team. But maybe he'll get fired, go somewhere else, and win a Super Bowl or 2. We'll see. But you also have the NFC champion, San Francisco 49ers, who added Javon Kinlaw to that defense, replacing DeForest Buckner. They reloaded, and they're ready to go again next season. The Seattle Seahawks have Russell Wilson, a.k.a. Drew Brees 2.0 with legs. But that team is still really good. That team has won consistently. They've always been in the NFC champion conversation. They've always been in Super Bowl conversation for the past few years. They're always in that conversation. Now, you had the Niners. You had the Rams. It's going to be very, very hard for the Cardinals to win within that division. Outside the division, different story. But winning within that division, it's going to be just very, very tough to win, especially for a second-year quarterback.
You can make an argument that is probably the best division in the National Football League.
I don't think there's an argument. I think it's a fact, to be honest with you.
You can make oh my God.
Yeah.
Like,
that's a fact.
Just think of the talent in each of those teams. Like, as you were saying, I'm like, this division is scary, man.
So much.
You got to face the 49ers, the Seahawks, and the Rams twice a year. Oh, my God.
Not even just rosters. That's the coaching in that division.
Oh, the coaching is great.
Sean McVay, Cliff Kingsbury.
Pete Carroll.
Yeah, Pete Carroll, Kyle Shanahan in San Francisco.
Oh, my God.
That's a great division, and it will be great for years to come. And I'm going to be very excited to watch that if it happens. Hopefully it does. But even just 3 years from now, it's going to be very amazing to watch. I'm going to throw a team out there. The New York Giants in the NFC East. Daniel Jones had a lot of great moments last season. You know, as much as the Giants weren't really talked about as they maybe should have, they had a very bad start. Daniel Jones had an interesting start, a little inconsistencies there. But, you know, middle of the season, later in the season, and even early, Daniel Jones was a good quarterback. And he proved that, hey, maybe that Dwayne Haskins decision wasn't really the worst thing ever. You know, you give him a second year. You do little small improvements here and there with that team. They picked up an offensive lineman to help that team out. You have a top 4 running back in the entire National Football League in Saquon Barkley, a guy who can play and go 1,000 yards and 1,000 yards receiving and rushing consistently. He has potential to rush for 20 touchdowns. He is one of the most talented running backs I've seen in recent memory. He reminds me of Adrian Peterson, except he can actually catch a football. You know, it's scary to think of how great and how talented Saquon Barkley is. And I will never count the Giants out because of the fact that they have Saquon Barkley on that football team. And you give him Daniel Jones. That's consistent quarterback right there. The defense, on the other hand, it's young. There is a lot of young talent on that defense. There's not really a stalwart, great veteran defensive player that they really have there that I can really think of right now. It's a lot of youth. It's a lot of good players. DeAndre Baker, young corner. Dexter Lawrence, I believe, young defensive tackle.
I'm not even sure DeAndre Baker's on the team anymore.
I think he still is. He might. We'll see what happens with him. I think they've kind of gone past that situation. But
no, I know they just told him they didn't want him attending any more meetings with them anymore.
Yeah, that was. I think I don't know. We don't know what's going on with that. But if they do keep him, he's a good young corner, right? But they have other young corners as well. They also play the NFC East, a division where you have the Eagles. Yeah, you have the Eagles. Now, recent Super Bowl champions, I know. But I believe it was 8-8 won the division last year. 9-7 won the division last year.
I think it was 9-7.
You're telling me the Giants can't go 10-6 or at least 9-7 next year if everything goes right?
I do agree that the Giants are a sleeper team, but I think it comes down to the biggest question mark for me, and it's Joe Judge. Nobody knows a thing about him. Nobody knows a thing about him. Nobody knows anything about him.
Yeah.
He was a special teams coordinator for the Patriots for a pretty long time. Some Patriots players were saying that whenever Bill Belichick wasn't available, Joe Judge would kind of take over as like the replacement head coach for a little bit, like, put the team through drills, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like he basically knew every player on the team.
That's what happens when you're a special teams coach.
Yeah.
I do like special teams coaches. A lot of great head coaches. I remember seeing a list of coaches that were special teams coaches. The list is very long of Hall of Fame coaches that were special teams coaches at one point in their career. So if Joe Judge, I think he can live up to that expectation. He coached with the best head coach in the history of the National Football League. There's potential there. Question mark, but potential.
There's a lot of potential when it comes to, especially the offense. Like, I loved Daniel Jones last year. I thought he did really well. I thought Darius Slayton, a fifth round pick, a wide receiver, played very well. He was very underrated last year. I thought they had some injuries last year, of course, with Saquon, Evan Ingram, who were core pieces of that offense. I think the offensive line's improved. I thought Will Hernandez, second-round pick a few years ago, I believe, he developed pretty well.
Love Will Hernandez.
Yeah, I think this team has potential to be a really good offense, to be a really good team overall. It just comes down to Joe Judge, really.
Yeah. Can they put it together?
And in defense, too, like, they have the pieces. I thought they had a steal when they drafted Xavier McKinney in the second round. I had him going to the Cowboys in the first.
I think I had something around there, too, yeah.
Yeah, I had him going to the Cowboys in the first round. I thought he was for sure a first-round pick. And never did I think he would be wearing a New York Giants uniform. So
not bad.
They had a pretty great steal. I thought they got Darnay Holmes from UCLA, who I thought was a really good corner in the third round. Yeah, like you said, this team is young. This is a very young team. Dexter Lawrence last year, he played pretty well.
Solid.
They got Blake Martinez, linebacker, who I believe at one point in the year he was like leading the he led the league in tackles. I could be wrong on that, but
I think it was something like that.
He was a top tackler last year.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think this team could potentially get to where we would like them to be in terms of production, in terms of being a playoff team. But, yeah, just right now, they're just a very young team, very unexperienced. A lot of these guys are just meeting each other for the first time ever.
Yeah. That's crazy to think about, too.
You look at them on paper, yes, they are full of talent. Like, I don't want anyone saying that the New York Giants don't have talent. They got plenty of talent.
Yeah.
It's just like the Browns last year, they don't really know how to use it.
Yeah.
I feel like a guy like Joe Judge, if he knows how to use it, if he knows how to get Daniel Jones where he needs to be in terms of being a star quarterback, I think this team can make some noise next year.
I do agree. We will see what happens. But unlike a lot of the things we mentioned, I'm going to mention something that is set in stone. The NFL preseason has been shortened to 2 games this season.
Mm-hmm.
I find it very interesting. It's a smart move. It's the good decision. But it leaves you to wonder. They canceled the Hall of Fame game. They canceled the first 2 weeks of the preseason. Who's to say they only play one preseason game? Who's to say no season at all? You see cases rising in Florida, in Texas, and Arizona. That's like 6 NFL teams right there. When you put those 3 states together,
Mm-hmm.
California is rising in cases. The trajectory for this virus is not positive in any way, shape, or form, except in select areas in the United States of America. It's hard for me to say without a shadow of a doubt that, yes, we're having an NFL season next year because I don't think we are. I don't even know if we're going to start it. I don't know if we're having college football. I have plenty of doubts about it. And this shortening of the preseason is just yet another example of, hey, let's pump the brakes a little bit. The NFL hasn't been very deliberate in their action towards this. They've kind of just been putting this whole thing off of how are we going to do this? We want to play. How is it going to get done? Let's just push back the preseason. Just don't train. Just push back. You're going to have to play football eventually. You can't keep delaying it. You're going to have to either decide no season or let's play. But I want to know what you think about it because it's just very interesting. And I think what the NFL is doing is, it's a smart move. But the way that they've talked about it, it's a great. I would have done it for sure. I think they should have actually just did this in general, virus aside.
I believe the new deal they're trying to work on with the scheduling and how the season's going to play out. A lot of players were talking about shortening the preseason.
Yeah,
a lot of the situation with shortening the preseason, I believe, has a lot to do with giving players enough time to train, primarily train, not have to worry about games that they're probably not even going to play in. The majority of them are not even going to play in. And let's be honest for a minute. Who watches preseason games? Who watches? You watch those?
If I want to watch a young player and I'm like, okay, this guy's going to be in that game, but I'll end up watching the first half. I'll end up or the second half, really.
And then you stop.
Yeah, it's nothing. I'm like, oh, preseason football. I really love that.
Yeah, you don't get excited for it.
Like I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, they'll probably televise it, but if they didn't televise it, I mean, I don't think anybody would really care that much.
I know. As far as these big news coming, I know the NFL announced that next week they will be announcing information as to having fans actually sign waivers before coming to games. Now,
NFL does not like to get sued.
No, they don't. Exactly. They got enough to worry about. But but yeah, I agree with you on, aside from Corona, this should happen. I don't see why you would have 4 preseason games. I think 2 is good enough. 2 is fine. You spend 2 weeks of just primarily focusing on the rookies you just drafted, undrafted players that are looking for a chance to make the 53-man rosters. Yeah, I don't see why it would be so long as 4 weeks, as a 4-week span. I think this is good. Aside from Corona, I really do think it did. I think they should stick with this. I think a lot of fans would agree on that.
I think a majority of fans would. Now, it's interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what they do going forward. But I think that's really enough of the NFL. We've gotten to a lot of what we wanted to talk about. It's been a very long time. We've talked about the NFL. Let's get into basketball. A lot more, it's coming up more recently. We're officially in the month that the NBA is supposed to start playing.
Mm-hmm.
The guys are going to start heading down to Orlando soon. Okay. One thing that I found interesting, that you found very interesting as well, is the case with the Brooklyn Nets, the ex-New Jersey Nets. They are missing 6 players that are not playing. Now, granted, 2 of those guys are Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. They're 2 best players, obviously, but they've had injuries. It's more of an injury thing, and Kyrie Irving doesn't want to play for, social reasons as well, but he's also injured as well. And they also are down DeAndre Jordan and Wilson Chandler, 2 very key bench pieces on that team. And with the losses of the Nets, I think it's safe to say they're done. They're not going to win an NBA championship this year. It's, for me, if I'm the entirety of the Nets, if I'm the Nets organization, I'm going to agree with a guy like Davis Bertans. Why would I want to do this if I have absolutely no chance at a championship? I know players like to believe it, but you're the Brooklyn Nets in the East with the Celtics, the Bucks, the Raptors. The Nets have a very low chance of potentially winning a championship, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know the money is big. Also, Spencer Dinwiddie tested positive a few days ago as well. It
was Spencer and DeAndre Jordan.
And DeAndre Jordan decided to sit out because of it. Spencer Dinwiddie, we're not sure on yet. He hasn't made his final decision.
Mm-hmm.
No, I know he probably wants to play. He averaged 12 points and 5 assists this season. That's a key player. He's done better as well. He just hasn't gotten the minutes maybe and all that stuff. If I'm the Nets, it might cost me more to play, even financially, than it would be to go and get swept in the first round by a team like the Celtics or the Raptors. I get guys want to play, but if you have half your roster gone, you go to Orlando, you lose 2 more players. Why would you have gone in the first place? Injuries can happen. This virus can infect one of your players. I don't think for a lot of teams, obviously the Lakers, the Bucks, the Celtics, the Clippers, the Mavericks, even teams in championship contention. Yeah, you want to play. You want to go get an NBA championship. But if I am the Wizards, if I'm the Suns, you want to make money. You're an owner. I get that. You're a rich guy. You want to keep making money. Your fans want to see you play. But logically, logistically, and honestly backed by science, I don't think it's worth it for a team like the Nets that is having their players drop like flies to go out and put a team together and play in this Orlando playoff scenario. What do you think?
It's really sad. It's really sad when you think about it, because the Nets were a promising team coming into this year. And now you got, things like Corona, the Black Lives Matter movement, and you got, just guys just not wanting to leave. We were in quarantine for a long time. Some of them, you don't even know if they were really working out. They were just staying at home with their families, making sure everything was okay.
Yep.
And yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't really think about that. If I was a player on, let's say, the Suns or the Wizards, why would I want to come back?
Yep.
I'm probably not. If we do go back and we get blown out by a team like the Bucks, why did I come back here, risk myself getting the coronavirus with not just being with my family? Like, okay, yeah, you mentioned Kyrie and KD. It's kind of unsure. Yeah, I would say it was probably injury reasons as to why they're not playing. They weren't going to play anyway. They haven't played this season anyways.
Primarily injury reasons with Kyrie. He cited other issues, but yeah.
Wilson Chandler, DeAndre Jordan, and Nick Claxton, who is the backup center, who would have replaced DeAndre Jordan. He's now not playing. He's not going to go. Spencer Dinwiddie, he's still thinking about it. He has corona right now, but hopefully him and DeAndre Jordan and everybody else who has corona is doing okay.
Yep.
Getting better at least. But yeah, who's to say that these aren't the only players that are being public about this? There could be easily guys on, say, the Bucks or say the Lakers that are literally like you saw Avery Bradley and Dwight Howard, top team. They know if they're playing, there's a great chance they can win a championship, but their family's more important than that. Like Dwight Howard even said, I'm pretty sure this is the right case that he said he wants to take care of his son. He doesn't want to risk having corona or just not being there for his family. I think in a situation like this, you're going to see a lot of G League players get 1-year contracts.
Yes.
We're
already seeing it.
Yeah, you're already seeing it. You're seeing a bunch of guys getting signed and I'm looking at these guys, I'm like, who? Like, I've never heard of them before. And it's like, yeah, you're going to see a lot of guys that you've never seen before because there's literally nothing else we could do. Yeah. And, yeah, it's disappointing for a team like the Nets that a lot of them have become positive. A lot of them just don't want to play. And I feel bad for guys like Karis LeVert, Jared Allen, guys who are going, guys who are saying, yes, I am going to play, that just now there's basically little to no chance that they will ever, at least probably even win a game. But
they'll maybe get 2. We'll see.
They
can shock people. Who knows?
You might shock somebody. How funny would it be if the Nets end up winning?
Not even the championship. Just get a high seed at this point.
Just get a high seed.
Yeah.
Dude, that'd be.
But here was my thing, though. If you're trying to make a positive out of this whole thing, you look at a guy like Karis LeVert. He's a young player. He's going to be heading into a contract season sooner rather than later. He plays very well in this playoff format. He might get paid big money by a team. So if you're young, if you're 24, going into the end of your rookie deal, I would want to play because, yes, I'm putting myself at risk, but I think all of us would put ourselves at risk for $80 million for 4 years, potentially.
Of course.
So,
Of course.
it's that kind of, there's a lot of different opinions. There's a lot of different people and different situations and decisions to make, right? Now, you look at a guy, the guys that play in Europe, the guys that play in Australia. Obviously, those countries are doing much better than the United States of America right now, right? Whatever reason you think that may be, it's a fact. The cases are rising. If I'm Matthew Dellavedova, living in Australia, I believe he's from, or New Zealand, or wherever. I think it's Australia.
I think it's Australia too. You're right.
Yeah. Who says I don't go to New Zealand where the virus is, somewhat contained? I haven't looked it up recently, but they were doing pretty well at some point. Who's to say I don't want to go to America? Why would you want to go to America and take that risk? And not
My family's here. Yeah, exactly.
Not only bring it back, potentially get it yourself. Bring it back to your country, that has done so well, or maybe not so well depending on which country, but has done much better in containing this thing. You could come back and want to play Australia with a bunch of people heading on to Australia, and Matthew Dellavedova, God forbid, could be the reason that 100 more cases appear in Australia if it's on a plane. We're assuming he would get flown out privately and all these other things, but you never know, right? It's hard to say. It's a lot of different decisions. And at that point, for the NBA, if you're putting a team in the playoffs where half the roster is a G League roster, who is going to watch that? I'm sure people will watch it. I'll probably watch it because it's basketball. It's the NBA, right?
We miss it.
Everyone does.
Okay? Everyone misses it.
But if I'm watching basically the Suns G League team play against the, Memphis Grizzlies G League team, just for sake of example, I don't care. I don't want to watch that. I want to watch, the best players play.
Mm-hmm.
And we might not get that. It's hard to really say. Do you really have anything else to add to that, actually?
I'm gonna be honest, not really. I mean, I feel like we covered mostly it's just I'm worried that in the upcoming days you're going to see that the Nets are not the only team that are going to go through with this.
Exactly.
I feel like, a team like the Dallas Mavericks, like Texas is going up in cases.
The Kings have had multiple cases too.
Yeah, who's to say that Porzingis or Luka even are going to say, I don't really want to play.
Yeah.
I just don't. And they're just
who
not
blames
being
them?
public about it.
No one.
Who would blame them? Exactly. So, there's a lot of reasons as to why people would not want to come back to play. It's understandable. It really is. But I don't know. Just for me personally, if you were to say to me, hey, I'll give you $30 million if you play basketball for 3 months in Orlando, I'll buy a plane ticket right now.
Yeah. I'll walk.
I will walk. I'll drive there. I'll go.
I will walk, no mask or anything. Give me my money. Okay.
I'll go back home $30 million richer.
Exactly. After taxes, but still,
Yeah.
Yeah. But to transition into something more fun and more positive, one of the greatest players of all time has been signed to the Los Angeles Lakers. The Henny God, J.R. Smith, has been signed to the Los Angeles Lakers. We had to mention it. Okay, you mentioned Avery Bradley. You mentioned Dwight Howard. Avery Bradley staying home for his family. I would have done the same thing as Avery Bradley. But they picked up J.R. Smith, which I thought is great for basketball. It's great for the entertainment value that basketball is going to lack going into Orlando potentially. J.R. Smith is one of the most fun players to watch right now and in the history of the NBA. We were waiting for him to get signed eventually. This feels like when Melo got signed. J.R. Smith is going to play. We don't know how much. I'm sure he'll get good minutes, but he hasn't played in a while. So we'll see what happens with J.R. Smith, the man who forgot what time it was in the NBA Finals. He said he didn't, but we know you did, J.R. Smith. J.R. Smith, the Henny God, who has said that he doesn't like Henny. What are you doing?
What are you doing?
I thought he was up. He's a fun player. He's a fun guy and a great guy, honestly. He gets a lot of flack, but he's a good basketball player as well. The guy's a lights out shooter when you give him the opportunity when he gets hot. Okay, so I don't think this is going to be if we're being, straight up. This isn't like the piece that puts the Lakers over the edge of the Clippers. But it's a good replacement. It's actually a very good move. J.R. Smith has a lot of basketball left in him from what I can see. He's a great shooter. He doesn't have the defense that Avery Bradley had, but he's fun to watch and he's fun to be around. So that should bring some morale, not just into the Lakers locker room, but the NBA in general.
I think it is good for J.R. Smith and the NBA, and the fact that J.R. Smith doesn't have to be relied on, really.
Yeah.
He's just going as a supplement guy, a bench player, a bench piece. He's taking over the shooting guard position as Avery Bradley was when, he was there. And really, it's just don't overthink it. That's all we're trying to say. Like, okay, me personally, I thought Nick Young would get this. I thought Nick Young was going to get signed.
I forgot about Swaggy P. Oh, my God.
Swaggy P, I thought he was getting signed. I honestly did. But, I mean, J.R. Smith, he has a lot more experience. He's no joke, okay? I understand he did a very funny play that, everybody thought, it basically cost the Cavs a championship.
Although George Hill should have made the free throw, but we won't talk about that.
Yeah, but yeah, I think this is good for J.R. Smith. I think it's good for LeBron. You just need a few pieces. You just need a few pieces to support him. And as long as you know how much time is left in the game, I think you'll be fine.
I'm sure he's learned from his mistake.
I'm sure it'll be okay.
And I think that Frank Vogel would actually call the timeout that J.R. Smith wanted. Okay, because that could have been prevented if they just called a timeout. But that was a weird play. And to be honest, the Cavs wouldn't have won that NBA Finals. Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, Steve Kerr coaching that squad. Come on, it's the best team of all time, in my opinion, next to the Chicago Bulls, even. Best to me. I didn't grow up watching the Chicago Bulls. My best team was the Golden State Warriors. That's a different conversation, but that's where I'm coming from, just to say it, so we don't get killed for saying that the Warriors are better than the Bulls, but that's different. But J.R. Smith, great for basketball. I love J.R. Smith, and the Lakers will probably see some jersey sales going up pretty soon. But heading into next season, okay, because this season is a lot of controversy. We don't know what's going to happen. But as far as we know now, we do know that at some point there will be a 2021 NBA season. Hopefully. Okay. But there's some rookies this year. And, a lot of them maybe didn't get the shine that they wanted to. They didn't get the minutes. They didn't get, they didn't perform as well as maybe some would have liked them to. So one player from this past NBA draft that was a rookie this season, who is going to break out and potentially surprise a lot of people around the NBA going forward?
Back at the 2018 draft, we saw guys like Devontae Graham, Mitchell Robinson, guys who were drafted early second. Nobody really thought that they would be like a core piece of a team. You look at them this year, they were amazing.
Yeah.
They literally blew up as stars. I thought they did very well, exceeded expectations. Looking at the 2019 draft, I'm looking at somebody who was drafted late first. He didn't really get a lot of minutes, but I thought he showed tremendous potential. I'm going with Nasir Little, drafted from the Portland Trailblazers. Obviously, I don't think he's getting a lot of minutes because of the addition of Carmelo Anthony on that team. I thought Nasir Little, coming out of North Carolina, I thought it was a crime that he was not taken higher in the draft. I thought he was going in my original mock draft, I remember I had him going 14th or 15th.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought Nasir Little, he showed a lot of promise in his rookie year. I thought he played very well with the minutes he had. I think he had 10 minutes, something like that. He had something
Not
little
too
like
much.
that. Yeah, he didn't have a lot. Yeah. But a guy like Nasir Little, this is very hard to predict. Any of the guys who were drafted late first, anywhere in the second round, they could all blow up anytime. But yeah, I'm making my prediction that Nasir Little, I'm believing Carmelo Anthony will not be playing next year because it was just a 1-year contract.
We'll see. Well, it was a 1-year contract. Will they re-sign him? We'll see.
Yeah, I believe if they do not resign him, I think it was good that Nasir Little sat behind Carmelo Anthony, got to learn from him, both being in the forward positions. Yeah, I do think Nasir Little could turn some heads in the 2021 season.
I like Nasir Little. He's a good defender. The shooting, it will come. But a guy that I picked, a lot of people like to pick late drafted players, second round picks, late first round picks. Now my guy, I know this. I don't know if this will count. I'm sure it does count because we're going to make it count. It's our show. We can do what we want. Okay.
Of course.
A player that I think is going to break out, right? We had Zion Williamson. We had Ja Morant. Two guys who could win Rookie of the Year. It wasn't really close. There was a guy picked by the New Orleans Pelicans, he was picked by the Hawks and traded to the New Orleans Pelicans, actually. Yeah, the Pelicans had 2 first-round picks this year. It's pretty cool, actually, that they got Jackson Hayes, the center, out of the University of Texas, Austin. As an Oklahoma fan, it pains me to say that Jackson Hayes will break out next season, but he was a backup center behind Derek Favors, I believe. And he got, more playing time without Zion, but he's been, hasn't been a bench rider. He played last season. He had 7.5 points per game and 4 rebounds, right? Derek Favors is getting a little older. Jackson Hayes is 20 years old and averaged 7.5 rebounds and 7.5 points and 4 rebounds. For a 20-year-old, we've seen what Zion's doing and Ja's doing, but even for a 20-year-old center, that's still impressive. I know it's not the most jaw-dropping numbers, like, wow, a guy averaged 7 points. But for a 20-year-old out of the University of Texas at center for the Pelicans, playing on the bench, that's pretty good. He turned a lot of heads last season. I know a lot of people like Jackson Hayes, think of Jackson Hayes, but when you think of the Pelicans, you think of Zion, you think of Lonzo, you think of Brandon Ingram. I know I talked about Jackson Hayes last episode. We lightly touched on a guy like Jackson Hayes. If you see him get more minutes next season, playing better around a Zion Williamson that could really shock a lot of people next season. I don't think people are really talking about how good Zion can be. I know a lot of people don't like the hype, don't like how overhyped he is, and to be honest with you, I agree. But, the hype he got in college, the hype Zion had in college, people are going to plan their games around Zion Williamson, Lonzo Ball, and Brandon Ingram. Teams are going to forget about Jackson Hayes. And, we have to prepare for this young center. He's 20. He's going to step it up next season. I think that he can get around 14 points a game if he gets more minutes and 7 rebounds. I think he can honestly double his stat line next season. I know that might be that's a bit of a reach. Realistically, we're looking at more 12 and 6 type numbers. But that's still a pretty good breakout, even if he does get 12 and 6. So, he got picked 8th. He's a highly drafted player. He's expected to do this kind of thing. But I don't think we're acknowledging how good Jackson Hayes is. He's a very, his wingspan is he's a very long, lanky player. He adds a bit more muscle. He gets a bit bigger. And he can become one of the better centers in the NBA. He's great defensively. Get a little bit more of an offensive game going, even though he averaged 7.5 points. He's a good offensive player, but even improve that aspect of his game. And we're looking at a team that is very good 1 through 5, just very solid with young talent that can ball out. Guys that are under 24, 25 in Lonzo, Ingram, and Jackson Hayes and Zion. Drew Holiday is on that team too, with a solid Derek Favors in that front court as well. JJ Redick playing there. They have the shooting. They have the defense. They have the squad. And Jackson Hayes is going to be a big piece of that next season, I believe.
Quick question. Who was starting over Jackson Hayes? I'm sure he wasn't starting.
I believe Derek Favors.
It was Derek Favors?
Yeah, I think they had Zion playing the 4, Favors at the 5.
Okay. All right.
He might have had some slots starting in earlier this season without Zion, but I think that was mostly the option there.
Yeah, I agree. I really liked Jackson Hayes last year. I thought he showed, on the highlight reel, he was amazing in just his aggressive dunks and just him blocking in Texas. I thought he was amazing. Just
the length of him, just to go up and get that ball. That's 6'11". No, he's athletic. His athleticism is his big.
He's a very athletic guy.
Yeah.
I think a guy like him, but the only reason why I wasn't so high on Jackson Hayes is not so much his length and height, just his muscle. He wasn't the biggest guy on the court. He really wasn't. It was very easy for guys to box him out. I thought it was very easy for guys to just push him around. I think build more on muscle, be more aggressive when it comes to rebounds, and obviously he gets a lot more minutes. I think he can be a very good center when it comes, especially with the Pelicans. I like that fit.
Yeah, it's probably the best situation he could have got, getting more experience and allowing more time for him to build up that muscle, get bigger, more strong, and add that to his athleticism. I'm not saying that these guys are even close to talent-wise, but we saw the same thing with Giannis Antetokounmpo. He came into the league very skinny, very lanky, and he built a lot of muscle. It's actually really insane to see how much muscle he got.
Insane.
And unlike Yankees, no steroids as far as I'm concerned. So, yeah, he there's a lot of potential with Jackson Hayes. Now, speaking of a Pelican, we're going to end the show pretty casual, okay?
Mm-hmm.
The NBA 2K covers have dropped recently. And right now, the current generation releasing is Damian Lillard on the cover.
The main cover.
Surprised a lot of people. That's the current gen cover. The next gen cover coming out of the Xbox Series X and the PS5 will be Zion Williamson. The hype is real. The guy played like 14 games or whatever it was, and he's on the cover. Yeah, he's on the cover of NBA 2K. That'd be like if Lamar Jackson got on the cover of Madden last season, you know? And then obviously the Legendary Edition. Everyone expected this. Everyone saw this coming. Kobe Bryant on both generations of Legend Edition after his tragic death earlier this year. And well-deserved. We all expected it. But did you have anybody else in mind for the Legend cover? No one else could have been on it this year.
No.
No one else deserved to be on it. Kobe Bryant every time. Zion playing 19 games, you said, getting on the cover of 2K. And Damian Lillard, I think he deserved it. I like Damian Lillard being on the cover. Right? I love Damian Lillard. I'm a big fan of Damian Lillard. But there's a lot of great point guards out there. You know, a lot of people expected maybe a 3-person cover, but they just released for different generations and everything. And it's weird, but they have to do that. They picked 2 guys who aren't really the best players in the NBA. Like, they're great players, obviously.
I don't think it would necessarily matter as to how they are ranked and in the NBA.
Yeah.
It's just the hype around it. I love Damian Lillard as the cover athlete for 21. I thought that was amazing.
I thought it was good.
It surprised me because I didn't really put much thought into who I thought the cover would be. But yeah, I did like the fact that Damian Lillard got the main cover. Now, as far as next gen goes, I had nobody from this rookie class being in the cover. I actually had Luka Doncic being the cover athlete.
The reason Luka Doncic isn't on that, actually, I believe, it's because he signed with EA to do a live, I think, or something. I saw that somewhere. I can't confirm that, but I believe he signed to some other video game. So
is
Luka
that
Doncic,
how it works?
I mean, if you're signed to EA, you're not going to be on a 2K cover, you know.
But you're still allowed to be in a 2K game.
Well, yeah, obviously you're in the game, but you're not going to be on the. You know, you're not going to say, Luka Doncic. I'm not going to say, hey, play live, and then play 2K too. You know, that's how
I did not know that.
Yeah,
I did not know that.
I gotta look more into that one. I'm not sure. Research.
Wow.
Time, but yeah, it's weird. It's a weird. I would have had Luka Doncic on the cover every time. Right.
I wouldn't think that would be something necessary to look up.
Yeah, I didn't. I just saw it for a second. I'm not sure what it is, but that's very, very interesting. Yeah.
Well, in that case, like if you want to go based off hype of this rookie class, then yeah, I could see why Zion would be the cover. Yeah. As far as hype, nothing else.
Oh yeah, it's all hype. That's all hype for him.
It's going to be all hype. That's why he made the cover.
Who I would have had, Kawhi Leonard on one of those covers. I know he's not the most, well, he's a fun guy.
Kawhi as the main cover would have been a pretty good idea.
Yeah. Have the cover be him screaming after making that shot against the Sixers. I know a lot of Sixers fans wouldn't have liked that cover, but it would have been pretty cool to see. He won a championship, Finals MVP, 2-time champion, multi-time Defensive Player of the Year. I think Kawhi could have got on there over Damian Lillard. I didn't really put much thought into it again until the covers came out.
Yeah,
but I was surprised to see Dame over a guy like Kawhi, maybe, but. Does it really matter? We're still gonna, a lot of people are gonna buy the game regardless.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Any last takes, Joel? I think that we've gotten to everything that we've wanted to talk about so far, but any last takes you want to give in? Anything left you have to say?
I just want to go back to the Nets players and other players because, like I say, I am predicting that. It's sad to say, but in these next coming weeks, before the NBA season's, coming back, I don't think the Nets are going to be the only team that are going to be affected by this. I do feel like you're going to see some teams in the 4th seed, 5th seed, 6th seeds that are just going to say, hey, I honestly don't think we're going to have a shot. And I'd much rather be with my family right now than be playing basketball for 3 months, being away from them, risking myself. So, yeah, it's sad to say that not all of them will be coming back, the top talent NBA players. But, yeah, I think we're going to have a very interesting season. The remainder of the playoffs, I should say.
Yeah. And very interesting it will be. Like we say on this show a lot, we will see what happens. There's a lot of that. And it's true. You can't predict things, but you can do a pretty good job at guessing sometimes. Anyway, that'll do it for us, I believe. I'm John. Joel's on one of these sides of me. I pointed in the wrong direction last time, so I'm just going to go both ways. One of them. Joel's here somewhere.
This way.
Okay. And, shout out to the haircut. I don't have hair in my eye like last time at the end of the show.
Very nice cut.
Thank you, sir. And that'll do it. We're on the break. Thank you for watching, and thank you for the support on the last video. Again, we're on the break. Thanks, guys.